Chapter 17. Put your vision of happiness into practice. Soon after returning from the taiga, I went once again to the city of Glenstick. Footnote: the author's earlier experiences at Glenstick are described in Book 1, Chapter 30, Author's Message to Readers, and Book 2, Chapter 33, Your Sacred Sites, O Russia. Glenstick is located in the Krasnodar region of the northern Caucasus on the northeast shore of the Black Sea. I went once again to the city of Glenstick to attend a readers' conference on the Anastasia book. The governor's aide in charge of the Glenstick district of the Krasnodar region took me to see the academician Mikhail Petrovich Inins for a school. Footnote: Mikhail Petrovich, SH word, 1944 until present, I suppose. Director, principal of the Tekos School near Glenstick. Originally a music teacher by profession, Mikhail Petrovich has had a long and distinguished career in experimental education. The recipient of several awards, in 1991 he was honored with the title academician by the Russian Academy of Education. A narrow gravel road led me from the main highways into the forest to a valley nestled amidst the mountain peaks. The road soon came to an end in front of a most unusual two-story mansion. It was still under construction. From one of the still, frameless window openings wafted the sound of children's voices singing a Russian folk song. This building was part of the vision Anastasia had showed me back in the taiga forest, but now it was an altogether real experience. Without a word to anyone, I made my way through the various construction materials to touch this mansion with my own hands. As I approached, I saw a little girl, about 10 years old, climbing deftly down a ladder. She went over to a pile of river pebbles and began selecting and dropping stones into an old herring tin. When she started back up the ladder, I climbed up after her in the direction of the alluring music pouring forth from above. There on the second floor, I watched as a group of kids like her, some a little older, were taking smooth pebbles out of a box and attaching them with a cement mixture to the wall, making an amazingly beautiful pattern. Two little girls at once carefully washed off each newly attached stone with damp rags. They set about their task in earnest, singing as they worked. No adults were present. Later I found out that the whole foundation, indeed each brick of this structure, had been laid by a child's hand. The children had come up with the whole design by themselves, including every corner of their building. And this is not the only such building on the little campus. In this amazing setting, children are constructing not only their buildings, their campus, but their whole future in the process. And they sing. Here, a 10-year-old girl is capable of building a house, doing splendid drawings, and cooking meals, not to mention knowing ballroom dance steps and mastering the fundamentals of Russian martial arts. Footnote: photos of the campus, pupils, and creative learning activities may be found on the color insert of the present volume. The children of this forest school are acquainted with Anastasia. They themselves told me about her. 300 pupils from different Russian cities study here. At this school, children take but a year to master the whole 10-year public school math syllabus, along with studying 3 foreign languages. They neither recruit nor produce child prodigies. They simply give the kids a chance to discover what already lies within. Academician Mikhail Petrovich Shchetinins School comes under the Russian Federation's Ministry of Education. It charges no tuition fees. Even though the school does not advertise itself, it has no vacancies. Indeed, there is already a waiting list of 2,500 hopefuls for an unexpected opening. It is hard to find words to describe the joys on these children's beaming faces. I went to visit the school directly after the readers' conference in Galensdik. I went with a small group of readers who had heard about my intended visit. One of these readers was Natalia Sergeyevna Bondarchuk, an actress and film director who is also on the board of Roerich Society. All right, two footnotes here. Natalia, 1950 to present, a popular Russian film actress and director. One of her first cinema roles was in Tarkovsky's famous 1973 sci-fi flick Solaris. She has directed a number of children's films, including several on the Bambi theme. Another footnote, the Roerich Society, founded by Russian expert on Oriental religions, Elena Ivanova Roerich, and her artist husband, Nikolai Konstantinovich Roerich. See footnote 18 in Book 1, Chapter 1, The Reading Cedar. With branches in a number of countries, the society is devoted to the study and promotion of art and culture in relation to human creativity and spirituality. It sees culture as a synthesis of ethics, religion, science, and art, all contributing to man's spiritual development. End footnote. A specialist in esoterics, she gave a presentation at the conference on the Roerich's legacy and on esoterics in general. She talked about Anastasia far more intelligently than I. Natalia Sergeyevna was accompanied by her 10-year-old daughter, Mashenka. After the conference, footnote, Mashenka, diminutive form of the name Maria. After the conference, the two of them were to go to a film festival in Anapa. Footnote, Anapa, the Black Sea coastal resort with a population of approximately 60,000, located about 100 kilometers northwest of Galensdik. After the conference, the two of them were to go to a film festival in Anapa, where Mashenka's beloved grandmother, the famous actress Ina Makarovna, footnote, 1926 to present, an award-winning Russian film star who made her debut in 1948 with Young Guard. In 1984, she appeared in a film version of Gogol's classic novel, Dead Souls. She also starred in several Bondarchuk films. In 2001, she received official congratulations from President Putin on her 75th birthday. Oh my God. So I'm reading this sentence for the third time now. After the conference, the two of them were to go to a festival film in Anapna, where Mashenka's beloved grandmother, the famous actress Ina Makarova, was already staying. But Mashenka's words came as a thunderous call to new enlightenment. Mamoshka, please, just for 3 days. Just 3. While you go to the festival, arrange for me to stay here at this school. And the delicate little Mashenka stayed for 3 days at the school, to the great astonishment of her mother, who sadly said, "Apparently we don't give enough to our children. Even though we love them, we are inadvertently stealing from them." Natalia Sergeyevna was accompanied by a film cameraman. He began shooting as soon as the children of Shchetinins School started talking about their communication with Anastasia. and their understanding of life. I'd like to reproduce here some of our conversation with the children who were building this mansion. Natalia Sergeyevna and I were the one asking the questions. One gets the impression that each brick of your building here is filled with the bright energy of a great power. Yes, that's true, answered an older red-haired girl. So much depends on the people who touch them. We have done all of this with love. We are trying with our mental attitude to bring only what is good and happy to our future. Who designed this building, the columns and paintings? This was the result of our united collective thinking. Does that mean that while each one is outwardly working on their own individual task, in actual fact it represents a collective thought? That's right. Every evening we get together and plan out or visualize the day ahead. We come up with images we want to see expressed in the design of our mansion. Some of the pupils here take on the role of architect. They give specific form to our common work and tie it all together. What image is expressed in the room we're standing in now? The image of Svarog, the primordial element of heavenly fire. You can see him here in the symbols, in the pebble amulets. Footnote, Svarog. In Russian and Slavic mythology, the god of fire, the father and divine light of celestial and earthly fires, who created our universe, Russian Svarjanil, our universe, Sanskrit and ancient Russian Svarga. Svarog fought and captured a giant malicious serpent or dragon, Zmei, which he used to pull a plow, separating the land of the living, or the visible world, Yav, from the land of the dead, or the invisible world, Nav, and thus establish order, or rightness, Prav. In Christianity, he is associated with, among others, the Archangel Michael. End footnote. Does your group recognize one of its own as a principal or a superior? We do have a leader, but by and large it is the collective thought that is at work here. Lava, we call it. Or maybe it's Iava? I can't tell if that's an I or an L. Lava, we call it. Say that again. The thought is lava? I'm going to call it Iava. Sorry. Say that again. The thought is Iava? That's right. A state of mind, an image, a desire. Do you all work with such great delight? Everybody smiling? Everybody with such sparkling eyes? Everybody so cheerful? Yes, our life is like that, since we are doing what we want, doing what we can, and doing what we love to do. You said each stone has its own pulse and rhythm? Yes, and this pulse beats once a day, just once. Is it like that with all stones, or do some beat twice a day? Every stone's pulse beats once a day. Doesn't it seem to you that your mansion is something like a temple? A temple is not a form, but a state of mind. For example, the cupolas, they simply help you access a particular state of mind. The form is molded by feeling, and it is not by chance that the form of a cupola, or hipped roof, came to us. They represent our aspirations for heaven and the descendant of heavenly grace. Footnote, hipped roof. A pyramid style of roof with 4 or more sloping sides, narrower at the top than at the bottom, characteristic of many Russian churches of wooden or stone construction. This building, where every stone is laid with a good thought, is it able to heal? Of course. And does it heal? Yes, it does. I couldn't help looking at the girls attaching the river pebble ornamental design to the wall of the upper room. The girls were dressed in very plain, unsophisticated attire. They were beautiful, only with an unusual kind of beauty. I thought to myself, where do we meet our future wives? Dance halls, parties, resorts? We see our future wives all made up, wearing the latest fashions, luring us with their slender legs or other charms of their figure. All this is what we marry, and then later, when all the makeup is rubbed off, you look, and there you see sitting before you a kikimora, and looking like a kikimora, grumbling away and demanding attention and love. Footnote, kikimora, in Slavic mythology and folk customs, a malevolent female ghost said to attach itself to a particular house and disturb the inhabitants, males in particular. By extension, the term may also suggest an ugly woman in shabby clothing, ill-tempered and grumbling, striving to make life of her husband and men in general unbearable. What happiness is there in living your whole life with a kikimora? What is there to talk about with her? And then she demands you support her financially, too. Oh, what rotten luck. But maybe we get what we deserve. Of course we would get what we deserve. You would have to be a complete idiot to marry makeup and long legs. But some of us are lucky. Some of us end up marrying, well, these girls here. The ones sticking the ornamental stones on the walls. They will be able to build a beautiful house and to cook meals with love. They know all sorts of foreign languages. They're wise, smart, beautiful, and when they grow up, they'll become still more beautiful, even without cosmetics. Naturally, many will want to take them to wife, but who will they agree to marry? This was a question we put up to these beautiful little girls wearing their plain clothing. Tell me, who would you like to marry? What kind of husband would you like? What qualities should he have? And right away, without hesitation, the first girl responded, kindness, patience, and he should be a man who loves his motherland, a man with honor and dignity. And what is honor in your view? For me, honor can be summed up in one saying, I have the honor of being Russian. And what constitutes a Russian man? It is a man who loves his motherland. First and foremost, it is one who stands up for her and never fails her. Not for a moment, not even in the most difficult moment. He fails himself to be a part of Rus. Footnote, Rus, the name of the old Russian territory, which by the 9th century AD was centered around Kiev, more so than the later term Russia. It signifies an emotional attachment to the Russian motherland. And your children will live for the motherland? Yes. And that means your husband must share this view as well? Yes. And the second girl answered the question as follows. He should be a man capable of giving light and warmth to other people. If he radiates light and warmth, it will be good for those around him, and our family too. A man rich in spirit, healthy in spirit, and this can't be compared with any other kind of riches. The littlest girl wasn't asked any questions while the camera was running, but I later put the same query to her and got the following response. Maybe all the best men will get married while I am growing up, but my husband will still be very good, kind, and happy. I shall make him that way. I shall help him the way Anastasia does. And I saw and realized that Anastasia was sharing her abilities with these little children. Why with the children of the Schnettetens school? Because academician Mikhail Petrovich Schnettin is himself a great magician, one who has created and continues to create a big space of love, and it will continue to grow even bigger. Right now, these little girls are little Anastasias with their light brown braids, but they will grow up. They will spread across the earth, creating oases like this one, until the whole earth is filled with them. As I was standing there in the upper room on the second story of this extraordinary mansion, examining ornamental designs and drawings executed by the children's hands, though more reminiscent of the art of the old masters, I had the impression of being in the greatest, brightest, and most welcoming temple upon the earth. This was probably because the amount of bright energy in this mansion, every millimeter of which had been lovingly caressed by children's hands, was infinitely greater than in many religious temples. And then I had another thought come to me. Here we will continue to go about restoring ruined churches and monasteries using modern technology and reinforced concrete construction. Not such a difficult thing to do, really. And then we'll come to these temples with the feeling that we have done our duty and begin asking, "Lord, bless our work." But no blessings will be received, because during this time God will be consecrating his attention on the children constructing this extraordinary temple building. And he will be concerned that they will run out of cement and not have enough bricks or boards for the floor, and God will lovingly bless all those who help them. And I couldn't resist the temptation to show the world these little shoots. I couldn't resist doing what Anastasia was so afraid of. And this is how it happened. I was walking down the aisle between the rows of kitchen tables set up outdoors for the children to work at, when I suddenly felt a soft warmth in my body, as though someone was training a heat reflector on me. The sensation of warmth was familiar to that emitted by Anastasia when she concentrated her gaze on a person. Only this time it was considerably weaker. In any case, I stopped and looked in the direction of the warmth, in the direction the warmth appeared to be coming from. An 11-year-old girl, winnowing rice at a distant table, was looking at me and smiling. I went over and sat down beside her. Up close, I could see her eyes sparkling with a fiery blue light that I began to feel an even greater sensation of warmth. I asked her name. "Hello," she replied. "My name is Nastya." Footnote, Nastya, a diminutive of the name Anastasia. So you have the ability to warm someone with your gaze, like Anastasia? Did you feel it? Yes, I did. Little Nastya indeed had Anastasia's ability to warm a person's body with her gaze, although not to the same extent. Natalia Sergeevna, the actress, came and sat down with us, and the cameraman began shooting. With no trace of embarrassment and without interrupting her work, Nastya started answering our questions. "Where do you get your knowledge and abilities from?" "From the stars." "What have you learnt through your communication with Anastasia in Siberia?" "I've learned how very important it is to understand and love our motherland." "Why is it so important?" "Because our motherland is what has been created by our forebears, both distant and close." "Who are your parents? Where does your father work?" "My papa is a school teacher. It's nice in the school where he works too, but here it's better." "Here you are all living as a single, friendly, happy family. Have you forgotten about your parents?" "On the contrary, we love our parents more and more. We send them good thoughts so that they can live well too." The camera was running, and I very much wanted Nastya to show the skeptics her warming gaze. And so I asked her, "Nastya, now you can show many people how to warm someone with your gaze. See the camera? Look straight into the lens and share your warmth with everyone who will see this." "To warm everyone at once, that's really hard. I might not be able to do it." But I kept insisting. I repeated my request, and exactly the same thing started happening with Nastya as happened with Anastasia back in the forest, when she tried to save with her ray at a distance a man and a woman from being tortured by bandits. I described this scene in my first book. See Book 1, Chapter 28, Strong People. Back then, Anastasia had initially expressed reservations. "It is not within my power," she had said. "Everything has been, so to speak, programmed in advance, but not by me. I cannot interfere directly. They have the upper hand right now." And yet, after my repeated requests, she did what I asked her to. She did it knowing full well that she might die in the process. And now, after my persistent pleading, little Nastya attempted to do my bidding. Twice in a row, without exhaling, she inhaled a little air, closed her eyes for a few moments, and then began to calmly look straight into the camera lens. The astonished cameraman fell silent. Then all of a sudden, Natalia Sergeevna tore off her kerchief and put it over Nastya's head. She was the first to notice how her body had begun to vibrate and her face had turned pale. I realized I should not have persisted with my request. There was no point in wasting energy on unbelievers. It would only intensify their anger and resistance. The grown-up visitors could not resist the impulse to touch the children. They touched them, hugged them, and patted them as though they were kittens. And why had I brought along a whole group of these grown-ups? After all, I was unaware that this school receives visits from all sorts of committees and delegations, and even individuals come to have a look and satisfy their curiosity, and tune into the grace emanating from its inhabitants. And they do come and tune in, and take away, but do not make any contribution of their own. Perhaps Anastasia was right when she said, "In trying to gain the grace of a holy place, think what you might offer in return. And if you have not learned to emit light yourself, then why take it and bury yourself in it? Then why take it and bury it in yourself, as though in a grave?" I, too, had come to the school more out of curiosity than anything else. It was thanks to Anastasia that I had been so graciously received by Academician Shetinin, and the children had prepared a feast for me and my whole entourage. And it was far more than food that we took away from the table. The sparkle in the children's bright eyes gave us infinitely more. And what were we to give them in return? A patronizing pat on the head? I was so angry with myself that I withdrew from the group and went off on my own to think. All of a sudden, I became aware of the two girls whose acquaintance I had made, Lena and Nastya, standing at my side. "Just relax," Nastya said quietly. "Grown-ups are always that way. They want to pat our heads and give us a hug. They think hugging is the most important thing. And you've been on pins and needles the whole day. Come along with us to our glade, and we'll tell you about Anastasia. I know what space she is in right now." When we arrived at the glade, the cameraman who had joined us proposed. "Let's get another interview with the girls. We'll get some excellent shots here. Look at what a splendid landscape there is, and no one is around to bother us." "Maybe not," I hesitated. "We've probably tired them out already with so much questioning." "But they'll still be delighted to talk with you. They don't really like visitors and journalists coming around here. We've got a golden opportunity right under our noses. It'd be a shame to let it slip by. Please understand my professional interest." I grabbed the microphone and told the girls, "We have to do another interview with you. I'll be asking you some questions and you answer them. Is that okay with you?" "If you need to, go ahead and ask," replied Lena. And Nastya added, of course, we'll be happy to answer." The girls took up a position right beside us and straightened their long brown braids. They looked at me straight in the eye, waiting for my first question. After 2 rather trite questions, I fell silent, suddenly realizing that these were the type of hackneyed, stereotyped questions they got from all the grown-up visitors, committee members, and journalists, whereas in fact, they were capable of answering questions on themes most adults would never even have crossed their minds in their whole lifetime. A Cossack hetman was right when he said, "My son's been studying here only 3 months, and I already feel there's a lot more I need to become aware of myself, and quickly, or I'm going to look positively stupid next to him." In any case, aren't we talking down to the children with our immature questions, inadvertently implying they're not capable of responding to anything more? I stood silently before these girls, holding the microphone in my hand, and saw how their faces were concerned for me. They realized I had lost my train of thought and didn't know what I should talk with them about. I admitted as much to them. "You know, I really don't know what to talk to you about, or even what questions I should be asking." And then ensued an utterly comic situation. Here we were, the cameraman and I, 2 stout grown-up fellows, and there in front of us were these 2 young girls, enthusiastically giving each other support without a second's hesitation, explaining to us how to do an interview, how to make a conversation with another human being. "Just relax," they insisted. "You've got to learn how to relax. The most important thing is to be sincere and talk about anything you're concerned about. Don't think about us. Of course you should think about any other person you're talking with, but..." Oh, sorry, that's still them talking. "Don't think about us. Of course you should think about any other person you're talking with, but you don't need to think about us if you find that too hard. Just relax. Just ask questions from your heart, and we'll be able to answer. Don't worry about us. As long as you're having trouble, let us tell you something ourselves." The girls were walking around the meadow, smiling, feeling the blades of grass, and talking. The depth of their understanding of the universe, the purity emanating from their heart, their eyes sparkling with kindness, literally immersed us in a sense of peace and confidence. The cameraman shot from a distance, not bothering to attempt switching the camera angles. Later, I would spend hours watching and rewatching the videotape Natalia Sergeevna subsequently gave to me. I would be fascinated by these little charmers with their light brown braids, walking through the glade. They will grow up. There are 300 of them at the school. I'm writing about the school not to prove anything to anyone, but to gladden the hearts of those who have come to feel and understand Anastasia through my books. If anyone feels irritated by what I write and how I write it, they need not read my books at all. I have already had my fill of criticism over my writing style, my grammatical mistakes, and the suggestion of a commercial ulterior motive. In any case, I am still working on my next book. If you don't like my books, don't bother reading the next one. The events it describes are even more penetrating than the ones recorded in the volumes to date, and my style is getting better, but not by very much. Both the contents and the style could make you quite distraught.